liberty and justice for all. If everybody could remain standing for a brief moment as we honor the troops who are fighting overseas to defend our freedoms and those who have lost their lives in defense of our country. Please be seated. Yeah, I'll come back.
Again. Oh, whose key is this? Virginia?
Virginia, is this you?
Yeah.
Okay. Pass into your keys. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April Village Board meeting. First thing I'd like to do is set the dates for the May meetings. The workshop meeting will be Wednesday, May 1st at 7 p.m. and the board meeting will be the following Monday, May 6th at 7:30 p.m. First up on the agenda from the Fire Department, Chief Stark.
Good evening, Mayor and Village Board. I have a few items on the agenda this evening that I'm going to ask for your approval on. The first one is a new member for the Hook and Ladder, Brandon Egbertson.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you. The second item is there's a few fundraisers that the host company would like to hold in the upcoming months. The first one is the Kentucky Derby Day. That's on May 4th. The car show on July 27th with a rain date of August 3rd. And the Hook and Ladder is going to sponsor a car wash for the Rockland County Explorer Post on April 27th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you. And the last item is permission for the fire chiefs to attend the seminar in Baltimore, Maryland, July 25th to July 27th, not to exceed $1,500, which is in next year's budget if approved.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Do you have the conductor? Did we do that?
We did the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, what time was that starting?
Kentucky Derby, what time? I don't think we had one, right?
Right, it was like 2.
I'll have to confirm that. I don't know if they actually have a time in. I believe it's in the evening, so it'll probably be about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, sounds good.
So moved.
Did we vote on
Did that already.
Okay.
Oh, we did it already.
Yeah, we did.
We have a couple of minutes before the time for the public hearings. So I will call up Culture and Recreation. Gail Kurt.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Since the last village board meeting, the AARP tax service has continued and will continue tomorrow and one more Tuesday at the Leo P. Leiden Community Building on Tuesdays. Battery Saturday was held on March 9th. A dare dance was held on Friday, March 15th. Breakfast with the Bunny and the Egg Hunt, as each of you know, was very successful, held on Saturday, March 23rd. And the Spring Coloring Contest, which was a little slow last year, got back on track this year, so we had a good turnout. Upcoming, we're very excited about this Saturday night, Talina and Friends in concert, Saturday, April 6th, Community Center. The doors will open at 7 o'clock. The concert starts at 7:30, and I hope you can all be there. There's a dare dance on Friday, April 12th. Suffern Keep Rockland Beautiful, which actually Charles Sawicki is spearheading this year, Saturday, April 13th. There's a lead session on Friday, April 19th. Farmers Winter Market on Saturday, April 20th, and a retirement celebration on Saturday, April 20th at the Community Center. I'd like to also mention to you that with your approval, we have been working with the village resident who is donating the absolutely wonderful monument in memory of the Newtown tragedy. I'd like to show it to the mayor perhaps tomorrow, and we have a meeting at 1 o'clock to actually move ahead with it. It's probably not going to be done if you approve it for at least 4 or 5 months. The The selection has been made by some members of the Recreation Board and some members of the Chamber of Commerce for the selection for movie Under the Stars this year, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Cute.
The Lions Club has asked for approval for their dates for their blood drives, Tuesday, May 21st, and Tuesday, October 15th. With your approval, we'll put those on the calendar.
So moved. Second.
The Lions Club has also asked
Well, we
to...
need a vote, right?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you. The Lions Club has also asked for a health fair at the community center on Tuesday, October 1st.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you. Not on your agenda, but as of this evening, I was able to, just in the nick of time, get a nomination into the Rockland County Office of the Aging. Mayor, you and I and Elaine actually talked about this, and we did nominate Ray Gutierrez for Outstanding Senior Citizen in Rockland County. So you'll hear about whether or not he makes that this year. Also tonight, we received a draft of the pool calendar. I told you that I would try my best to get that done before I leave, and it looks like that will happen. It should be to us by the end of next week, and certainly in the residents' mailboxes by the end of April. I deliberately did not do lifeguard interviews yet. We were set up, and with the possibility that my successor was going to come on board, we held that up. And so now that that's going to be done, I believe, by you tonight, we'll move ahead with that and give her the opportunity to sit in on those interviews with us. And lastly, I did give the clerk a few days ago, last week, a copy of a letter that reads, Honorable Mayor and Trustees, this letter will serve as official notice that I will be retiring from the Village of Suffern as of Friday, April 26, 2013. I thank you and previous administrations for the opportunity to serve the village in the capacity of Recreation and Cultural Coordinator. I will assist in whatever way I can towards a smooth transition of my position to my successor. Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept Gail's letter of resignation?
So Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I vote yes. I would like to take this opportunity.
Can we oppose that?
Yeah, we could.
Before,
Is that an opposable vote?
let me, excuse me one second. Gail, will you come to the podium, please? Oh, no. There you go. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Gail for her almost 32 years with the Village of Suffern. We will, this is just a way for us to say thank you on behalf of the Village Board. There will be a more formal, or I guess informal, how you look at it, celebration, informal, later this month. But again, on behalf of the Village Board, thank you for everything you've done. You've really been such a huge asset and a tremendous part of this village. And as I like to say, that there can be no replacement, there can only be a successor. So.
I absolutely love these flowers, and Colonial knows that, so thank you very much. I, too, will be having a lot more to say on April 20th, but thank you very much for the flowers, for the acknowledgement, and for the opportunity.
Yes, it is a little bittersweet that this will be Gail's last meeting, but she won't be far. But thank you again for everything. Okay, moving right along, we are now, yes, 7:46. So we have 3 public hearings on the agenda this evening, all related to the budget. It's the public hearing amending the sewer rates, the public hearing amending the water rates, and the public hearing for the adoption of the 2013-2014 budget. What I'd first like to do is open up the public hearing for the sewer rents. I'd first like to say our treasurer, who normally is here, is unable to be here this evening. He had some surgery a while back and some little complications, so he's going to be okay, but Tom couldn't be here tonight. So I will answer any questions that anyone may have. So the first thing I'd like to do is open the public hearing for the sewer fund. The sewer fund, the most important part obviously is what the rents represent, and the tentative 2014 budget calls for a 3.97% increase in the sewer rents. Included in the budget is a contingency fund regarding our deficit reduction plan, which we've put in place, which will call for the elimination of the sewer fund long-term deficit. As everybody knows, we've invested millions of dollars in the sewer plant to fix it, replaced all the personnel, and the last piece of that is obviously the financial aspect, and the sewer budget has had a long-term deficit. We're starting with the deficit reduction plan, and that will include a $50,000 payment in the 2014 towards deficit reduction. In addition, at the last board meeting, we had voted to appropriate $140,000 that remained from the first large piece of the sewer rebuild project, which was the digester roof cover, which came in at the end of the project under budget by $140,000, and is appropriate when a capital project comes in under to return the money to the originating fund, which would be the sewer fund. So with 10 weeks left in the current budget year, assuming that everything we predicted is on for the year we're in, there will see the deficit be reduced by $140,000. So 140 there, plus 50,000 for the 2014 budget, and we look to be deficit-free with the sewer rebuilt by the year end, by fiscal year end, May 31st, 2017. First, I'll open up to the board if anybody has any questions, and then to the public. And this is just on the sewer fund. Anyone from the board? Okay. Anyone from the public?
I move that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Do I just say to adopt it as is?
Local
Or?
law number 3.
Okay. And just adopting what? The sewer fund? Okay.
Motion to adopt the sewer
Local law 3.
local law number 3.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion is carried. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is the public hearing on the water rates. Just get to that right here. Okay. Same type of situation, the water rates versus last year. We are seeing an increase of 2.8%. You can see the rates at the bottom of the second page. F20 is going from $2.84 for the first unit, which is 750 gallons, to $2.92, which represents a 2.8 increase. Obviously, as anyone who lives here in the village of Suffern knows, other than Nyack, we're the only other municipality that has our own water utility, and our rates are significantly lower than United Waters. Similarly there, this administration inherited a long-term budget deficit in the sewer fund, in excess of $500,000. In the current budget we're in, we have appropriated $122,000 towards deficit reduction. Again, with 10 weeks left in the year, everything looking on target, that will call for a reduction in the deficit by $122,000. And we also have placed, and you can see it in the contingent account, the further deficit reduction in this budget that we're adopting tonight of $70,000. So if everybody sees the budget there, the increase is far less than actually where, the increase alone is less than we're putting towards deficit reduction. So if you took away the deficit reduction, we actually would have lowered rates, but it makes sense, and this board is committed to eliminating the deficit by May 31st, 2016. So a year ahead of the sewer deficit. So again, if there's any questions also in terms of infrastructure, we will be committing what is it, it's two pumps? What's the $50,000, Charles, in the water? The infrastructure project.
Ionized study.
On the water project.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. The well, the 2 wells.
The 2 wells, we're doing work on the 2 wells, which is included directly in the sewer budget, and that's going to be about $50,000.
You can, it's water budget.
Sorry, water budget, I apologize. So included in this budget is deficit reduction and $50,000 investment in infrastructure. So are there any questions from the board? Okay, opening to the public. Any questions on the water rates?
Motion to close the public hearing? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there a local law 4, correct?
Move to adopt local law number 4 for the water?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Mr. Falciglia,
Yes.
Mrs. Abato.
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan.
Yes.
Mr. Meehan.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion is carried. Okay. Sorry? Okay, the last item in the public hearings is the budget, the 2013-2014 budget. A couple of weeks ago, we had our public hearing on the budget. As some of you may know, we changed the process, this administration. It used to be that we'd have a public hearing and we'd adopt the budget the same night. Because when we have the public hearing, if we don't vote on the budget that night, we're required to continue the public hearing each night until we vote on the budget. So it didn't make sense in the view of this board that we would ask the public to come in and comment and then not even give the opportunity to reflect those comments in the budget because we'd have to vote the same night. So the process has been streamlined, it's online. It starts in January with the presentation of the budget worksheets to the department heads. They go through their budgets, then the treasurer puts all that data. I sit down with the individual department heads and go over their budgets. Once I have a preliminary budget with the treasurer, we then afford the opportunity for the Board of Trustees to meet individually with the department heads. Once that process is done, we post the budget online, give the public an opportunity to comment, and then we have the public hearing, which we did a couple of weeks back, where we'd get comments, and then we come back here to adopt the budget. So before I open it up to the board and then to public hearing, I just want to note a couple of things. The budget, which was posted before the public hearing 2 weeks ago, the only change to it was we were at 1.78. That was the proposed increase. We are currently at 1.58%. And what that represents is, you can see on page, sorry, give me 1 second. It's an issue on page A215 under Public Safety Departmental Income, A3158.9. That line was increased versus the last budget by $17,500. And what that represents, working with these board members, specifically Trustee Falciglia, is the Salvation Army in our meeting has agreed to increase their payment in lieu of taxes to the village. Which had previously stood at $10,000 since 1978. We're still working on the exact number, but the number that we reflect here represents a pretty conservative approach to what that increase will be. In addition, the hospital, Good Samaritan, has pledged $50,000 payment in lieu of taxes for 2 years, and Esther Gitlow Towers as well is coming in at $50,000 as a payment in lieu of taxes. So those 3 items will significantly reduce the levy that would otherwise be borne by the taxpayers. So we're very happy about that. And that really was the only change in the budget versus the one that we looked at 2 weeks ago. In addition, a couple of other items that I'd like to note is this budget. We also reported the year-end statement from 2012, May 31st, 2012 fiscal year-end. Our auditors gave us a preliminary report, and in that, our budget is in, our fund balance is in the black by a little over $60,000, which represents about 2/3 of 1% in the black. And with 10 weeks remaining in the current fiscal year, which is set to end May 31st, we are also projected to be in the black once again. So that means in the last 3 years, 14 months in advance, because when we pass this budget tonight, the books will not be closed on this 2014 budget year until May 31st, 2014. So almost 14 months from now. So for 3 years in a row, for us to be within 1/2 or 1/3 of 1% of what we originally projected is a testament to the hard work of all our department heads, the board members here, and our treasurer, Tom Zordan. Also, in terms of our commitment to continue capital investment, we're going to invest over $1 million this year in revamping our sewer plant. And then consistently, we have $500,000 a year of capital projects, plus other money we get from the state for highway funding. So we are going to look this year. There's various equipment in the fire department of $73,000, a new roof at the hose company for $60,000, an I&I study, which is part of the sewer plant rebuild, which is $50,000, a patrol vehicle at $37,000 for the police, and roadway improvements of $279,000, plus money from other sources. We're looking to put about $450,000 in another roadway improvement, which will bring us into several millions of dollars in the last few years. So again, we're looking to not only keep taxes down, but continue to invest in infrastructure. So I think that that's pretty much it from my end. Is there anything from any of the board members?
Well, just so you know, I spoke to a major foreman at the Salvation Army, and the tax in lieu increase, they've approved it on the local level, and they've sent it to, I guess it's the Eastern Region, for approval. And they've also picked up on our recommendation to tie it to an index for a yearly or an annual increase to be compounded. I suggested, we just tie it to our annual budget increase or decrease. They can benefit. So I hope to hear back from him within a couple of weeks.
Charles had asked to tie it to Robinson Cano's salary over the next 5 years, but they weren't interested.
No.
So, no, that's great, and I appreciate the Salvation Army willing to recognize that we're in a much different environment than we were when they first entered into that arrangement, and I think our budget is increased tenfold. So I think what we've asked is reasonable given the circumstances. So if there's no other comment from the board, I'll open it up to the public.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Rosenberg, sure, come on up.
He's taking a vote on budget because I'm going to offer an amendment.
Wait, sorry?
I'm going to offer a small amendment to the budget. So after, I didn't know you.
Sure.
When you call the vote, I'll do it.
We close the public hearing. Do you need to reopen it?
Virginia, you need to reopen the public hearing?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to, because
we
you
do
closed
that?
it.
You can't, you just have to...
Mayor and Village Board, my name is Jack Rosenberg.
Excuse me, Mr. Rosenberg, can you hold on one moment, because we closed the public hearing before you came up. What would be?
Well, let's reopen it for.
Reopen it. I'll
Yeah.
motion to reopen it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
I didn't quite get that.
It's okay, you can
No,
go
we
ahead.
reopened the public hearing. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I couldn't make the public hearing because my family and I decided that we had to take my wife out for her birthday. So I couldn't make that. But somebody was nice enough to drive me here tonight. I'm under restriction never to leave the house without somebody. So this gentleman was very nice to me and drove me here, so that's why I'm here. Now, you mentioned that this is the budget for the fiscal year 2014. And I noticed that in that budget, there is a figure of $410,000 of revenue to come from fees and permits. Now, we're currently in the fiscal year 2013, and there's an item in that budget saying under fees and permits, $180,000. And most importantly, In the 2012 budget, which ended a year ago, there were two figures. One was $300,000 in the revenue column, like the others, saying that we're going to sell a piece of property and we're going to put $300,000 into the bank. And in the same budget, it said that we're going to take in $475,000 from fees and permits. Well, if you add up the four figures, let's see, 475, 300, 775, 180, $1,055,000, and 410 is $1,465. And considering that this village is not like federal government, which passed something called $787 billion, this little budget is next to nothing, But for us in the village, it is very important because the figure I quoted you is a substantial portion of the operation of the village, not including the sewer and the water departments. Now, in the first year, 2012, you put down $475,000, and at the end of that fiscal year, you were short approximately $250,000. You didn't receive the $475,000, you took in $225,000, so you were short receipt of money $250,000. In addition, you could not sell the $300,000 piece of property. So there, between those two items alone, you have a loss of revenue of $575, 300 and 255, so 500, well over $500,000. Now, this year has seen all but 60 days has expired. 60. Today is the 1st of April. There's 29 days in April, and there are 31 days in May. That's 60 days. So that means that 305 days have passed this fiscal year, and obviously there are monies to be accounted for as of the end of the year, but obviously there is a certain amount of money that has not been received for the year of 2012, and I believe that a certain amount of money has not been received for the successor year. Obviously, you can't tell what 2014 will be because it doesn't go into effect until June 1st. Now, how can you possibly not receive cash money, which is supposed to make your budget balanced? The law compels the village to balance a paper in black and white. But putting something down on a piece of paper is not the same as receiving the money. Somebody should look at the question of, well, how come that all these large sums have not been received? I don't have access to the information. The 5 of you have access to that information. Why don't you take a good look and see whether or not any of the items that were under fees and permits were listed more than once, because it shouldn't be.
Mr. Rosenberg, is there a question, or is that?
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, let me clear up your question on this. One, yes, the one item you referred to, and we addressed it as the public hearing, which, as you said, you couldn't be here because you had your wife's birthday. At that public hearing, we addressed the $300,000 of 120 Orange Avenue, and that property was not sold. However, we were able to gain sufficient revenue in the budget to make up that $300,000. So essentially what happens is that now enables us, where this property, the money that was made up, so when we do sell it, it's not going to fill a hole, but it will be additional revenue because that revenue was made up. And ultimately, as I said before, what matters is at the end of the day when we close our books. And when we closed the books on 2012, which I talked about, we were in the black by over $60,000, and with 10 weeks left in this current year, we're going to be in the black again. So whether a specific revenue item may have been off, when the books are audited at the end of the day, we are in the black. In terms of, I also mentioned, yes, there are some revenue figures there with 60 days left because there are some large projects that may come in at the tail end of this current year we're in, which ends May 31st, specifically the Esther Gitlow project, which is a $17 million project and includes the building of the third building and a parking garage. So that has already been approved, and the permit, the building permit associated with that would be $170,000. So if that comes in before May 31st, we will not only meet that building department revenue figure, but we'll exceed it. So as we discussed before, when that comes in, it depends on whether later in the year, if it comes in the current year, we'll have to amend the budget to allocate some of the fund balance that exceeds what we currently project into the budget that we're entering. So that particular permit, where it falls, the revenue will come in, but we have to figure whether it comes in blowing away our numbers in the current year for the building fees, and then we'd have to appropriate some fund balance, or whether it comes in the next year. But the number that we looked at of over $400,000, every project in there has been approved by the planning board. These are not speculative projects. There are some other projects that I do believe will come to fruition before we close the books on 2014, but none of those projects are reflected in the budget in revenue anyway. So everything in there, I believe, is appropriate. And again, I guess the proof is in the pudding that for 3 years in a row, we've ended the year within 1/3 of 1%. So if you had a budget that was $1 at the end of the year, we're within 1/3 of 1 penny. So I think that obviously that's why a budget is just a budget, but when the books are closed and they're audited, that's when the proof is in the pudding, and we've come in right on target. So we're going to continue to do that.
Will you receive ultimately the $475 that you said would be received by May 31st, 2013?
I said yes, as I just said.
No, 2012. It was adopted.
We already, the books that are closed.
The budget was adopted.
Sure, I will look at the books on 2012 is closed out. We have the official order.
You have $475,000?
We are six, other revenue numbers came in ahead, and we are $60,000 in the black.
You have the 475?
I would have to look at the specific revenue figures. I don't have that budget in front of me.
Well,
Mr. Rosenberg, let me just finish. We closed the books. The auditors have issued their preliminary report, and for the year ending May 31st, 2012, we're $60,000 in the black. We can talk about the specific numbers if you want to call tomorrow. I'll pull out that budget and look at them, but I don't have those numbers in front of me of which revenue you refer to. But again, I'll refer to the fact that we're in the black.
I know for a fact that the approval for a project was 2 years ago. That money should have been paid by the end of last May.
I don't know what approval you're talking about.
Gitlow.
Gitlow wasn't approved 2 years ago.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
I was here.
Okay, it wasn't. It was just recent. Gitlow 3 was approved in the last several months, not 2 years ago.
No.
Okay. Is there anything else? We can continue?
Well, what about the 300,000 that you didn't get for 120?
I just said that again, we made up the revenue in other ways. So when the book closed on 2012, we're in the black, which means that when it sells, that money will come back into the general fund and will be a windfall. It's not included in this year's budget, so it's not on the books there. So it's a piece of property that whatever we get for it will be additional revenue. Okay? Thank you. Does anybody else have any public comment? Okay, we have a
Motion to close the public hearing.
You can do that. Do you want to do it when you make a motion, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
can do it
When
before
when the motion is made on the budget, then I'll move my
We made it,
amendment.
Jack, you can make your comment now.
Sure.
Well, okay, well, why don't I do that? I'll do that
Yeah, why don't you
before
do
the
that?
budget.
Yeah,
Okay. And what I'm going to be offering the vote on the budget is a small amendment to the capital budget. Now, for years, I write things out, so I don't go on and on. But for years, the Suffern Fire Department has sought to establish an emergency crossing of the railroad near Dunnery Court, which is the street that runs perpendicular to the railroad in West Ward. And so that would be so that emergency vehicles, fire trucks, but also ambulances and police cars could access the West Ward, because with greater and greater and greater frequency, the two underpasses, one at Ramapo Valley Road in New Jersey and the one on Chestnut Street in the Village, become flooded and become impassable to emergency vehicles. And actually Ramapo Valley Road, which intersects with Ramapo Avenue in the West Ward, also becomes impassable itself. It was our understanding that when we received the $300,000 settlement on from the Mawa Mall developers, and by the way, that 300 offset was one that was went a long way in offsetting our failure to sell the property on Orange Avenue as a side. But I believe the board members here are very much in favor of this project, yet our official document doesn't reflect this. As I said, extreme weather events are occurring with greater and greater frequency, and I think by placing this in the capital budget, I had a brief discussion with Charles Sawicki, and I think he had worked up a preliminary figure, and the figure is not too important. And the other thing I would point out, I had also had discussions with Tom Zordan. By placing $150,000 in the capital budget, it doesn't have any effect for this tax year, so it wouldn't have any effect on the tax rate. So I'd like to move to amend the capital budget to include $150,000 dedicated to the crossing the New Jersey Transit Railroad at Dunnery Court, between Orange Avenue and Dunnery Court. And I moved that, and I'm sorry, I should have discussed this perhaps earlier with the board members, but I'm asking, I know you all think that this project should be done, so I'm asking for a second here, and I hope to have a vote on this amendment.
Jack, can I offer something on that?
Sure.
I understand, yes, like 2 points, what you're saying in terms of the project, potentially with the money we got from MAWA. The feeling that at least I have is that with respect to this project, the funding that we got from MAWA was unrestricted, and I was instrumental in doing that, because I think the feeling is, and especially I know this governor and the storms, is that we believe that we'll be able to secure funding for this crossing project. So if we were to spend that money on that, $150,000, which is a lot of money, we can't get grant funding for it. So while, yes, we do want to get it done, we are actively seeking money for that project, and I'd rather have it paid for by a grant than take $150,000 out of the general fund that would otherwise come in with the settlement. The other issue is we do keep the capital project budget consistent at $500,000. So pretty much what that would do is, going forward, it would raise the current budget or next year's budget by $150,000, because what we essentially do is we have our long-term borrowing, in which we have two bonds, the sewer bond and then the bond we did, I think, 4 years ago with the road projects and one of the fire trucks. Those are our two long-term borrowings. And then on top of that, every year we have $500,000 that we put in capital projects that we pay off as bands. So each year when we pay off $500,000, we try to spend a new $500,000 on infrastructure. So, you know, while I think that is an option, I don't think that increasing the capital budget, we would have to look to remove one of the current projects there to keep it consistent.
Well, let me say this. I really think that this project's more important than some of the other items that are in the capital budget, and that if we had to, we could reduce it in other areas. I also think that putting this in the capital budget would not preclude in any way, I can't think of any legal way, of course we don't have our attorney with us tonight, but I can't think of any legal way in the 30 years I've served in public office that would preclude it, if we had that in the budget, that would preclude it from being funded by grants. And I think that's a good idea.
No, Jack, you're wrong on that. If you have money allocated for a project in your budget, you cannot secure grant money for that project.
I disagree.
Okay, well,
Where are we with the project? I thought Clerk you were working on something, right?
Clerk is working.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Mayor and Board, I've worked with Charles and Mike here for, I think we started working on this probably a year and a half ago. The biggest part was basically to secure the property and basically to have New Jersey Transit allocate use of the rail for this purpose. We secured that. The second step, which I know Charles is working on, is in regards to putting plans together. Seems like DPW can do a lot of the work, with the exception of anything on the tracks is basically, it's basically stipulated that it has to be done by New Jersey Transit, and it'll be done by their workers, which I can understand, because apparently it's not, they have to put certain mats down between the tracks. At this point, I think we were literally just waiting for, to get the approval. I know we talked about the plans, and honestly probably to get the funding at this point, from what I understand. New Jersey Transit, I believe, did not get us the final numbers. It takes it a while to get through with them, from experience of dealing with them for the last year and a half, but we have gotten pretty far. The last time we met, I believe Mike was with them, I think all of us, Charles, the one big thing we have to do is they're requiring a fence all the way down on Orange Avenue on both sides of the tracks. What they're concerned about is people just jumping onto the tracks and trying to get across that right of way. So we're definitely in the works. I met Mawa with Don and, I'm sorry, with, it was Bruce, and I met with Sam. We all went down to Mawa the other day. I was part of that meeting with the Mawa officials and the Mawa police chief, Mawa fire chief, in regards to flooding issues, and that came up, and I pretty much advised them the same thing, that we're looking just to get it finalized through New Jersey Transit. But the reality is we're going to have to need a funding source from somewhere really to push this through, because that's one of the questions they consistently had, was who was going to fund us until we need to know as we start really pumping money into this through New Jersey Transit. And that's pretty much, I know I talked it around a lot, but it's a pretty involved process what we've been dealing with New Jersey Transit.
You know, it was very interesting as far as grant funds are concerned, because I went to 7-Eleven yesterday morning, and I ran into our grant writer, and he didn't know anything about them, which is sort of interesting if we're seeking grant funding for this project.
Well, I meant more going through our state officials directly, so the state assembly members and state senator. But the issue there is we did try to seek it for the environmental benefits project associated with the consent agreement that we entered with the DEC. But I believe on that one, they said that we couldn't use that project. What we can do, Jack, I mean, look, we want to get this done, and I do believe that there is a commitment by this governor that he said he wants to spend significant monies on this, and this is a pretty substantial project in terms of public safety, is that we do not have to itemize what is in the capital budget until we go out for borrowing. As long as the number, the $500,000, is what we're doing. Obviously, you know, we want to do, or the chief will tell you he wants a new roof on the hose company, but, you know. But what we can do is, look, we'll talk about it. We don't have to finalize this. Obviously, we want to do a significant road project this year, but again, as long as the budget is consistent, if we do before we finalize it, if it is moving forward and we do need some money, it is potential to tap this capital source. But I don't think that we can increase how much we're spending. That I think the $500,000, which is actually $499,229, is a number that we need to, in order to balance our budget, we keep that number consistent. Because another 150 grand, if you think about that, paying it over 5 years, would be over $30,000 a year.
And Jack, I agree with you. I mean, I think it should be on the top of the list. I think it's far more important than some of the projects, but going down the road, if Clark is successful and we do get a number from them and it is something that we can move forward with, then that would go obviously to the top of our list.
I don't know. You know, with a state that reduces its budget by $90 million to the handicapped, you know, are they going to go for a railroad crossing? I don't know. I don't, in my experience as a grant writer, this is not the type of item that I see being funded. Now, we used to have something called member items. It would be pretty, you know, if Tom Moreham was still around, it'd probably be pretty easy to come up with this money as a member item, but we don't have member items anymore, so I don't know, and the state has adopted its budget, so unless this item is in the budget, it's certainly not something that we're going to see anytime soon, as far as I can see.
I understand in general, yes, but they are increasing the amount of funding towards flood mitigation projects, so that's what we're seeking. And I have been talking with Senator Carlucci about this specifically with respect to this project. So I think, look, we have more time, we can work on it, but if we're able to secure funding from the state, I think a better approach would be to have the state pay for it than to, you know, reduce the capital. But again, this capital budget doesn't need to be.
I'd rather have the state pay for it too.
Jack,
we can leave. We'll leave the $500,000. This isn't.
Fred and I are also working with Joe Abate's office with quite a few things that they have some extra funding for. And this is one of the things that we can bring up to him. He should be back from vacation tomorrow. I'll be happy to review that with him. You guys have paperwork and it's already...
We have, I mean, I'll be honest, I feel very confident, I would say very, very, very confident that this is going to move forward. We pursued, you know, based on our conversations with the three of us, with the Jersey Transit Spirit in meetings, I feel confident. We pretty much have the approval, which took a while through their real estate section. We have some odds and ends we have to work at on our end, which I can discuss tomorrow, nothing major, but I do feel confident that we pretty much have the approval we need.
The track work, that's what we said.
The track work is going to be a thing, and that's something that they really didn't get back to us with in a amount that we really need to step up with them.
It falls under one of the grants that we've been trying to find what we can spend the money on, so maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
Right?
But again, we can look, we'll put it at the top of the list, and I think we have probably till the early summer before we have to finalize what items are in the capital, but we don't have to finalize until we go for the resolution.
You know,
it can't hurt to try.
I'm an old legislator, so let me see if I can get, if I can't get a loaf, at least if I can get a half a loaf. And that is, I would make a motion that is the intent of this village board and go on. The village board goes on record, because it's not on the record of its budget, that the village board goes on record that they will pursue this project diligently within the next year, and that if you know, grant funding is not available, that we'll use our funds of our own to accomplish this goal. I
personally feel comfortable with that. I'll second that.
Okay. I agree.
Okay, do you want to vote on that separately first?
Yes, sure. Because it's not part of the budget.
Sure. Is there a
motion?
All in favor?
Hold on. He's got to withdraw his.
Yeah, withdraw. You want to withdraw the first motion?
I withdraw the original motion.
Okay, and then I guess we'll vote on the budget, and then we'll vote on that. Right?
Okay, whatever.
Yes.
Sure. So this is. Was there a second on the budget?
Yes, second.
Okay. So this is for the adoption of the 2013-2014 budget. Okay. So this is local law 4, Virginia?
No.
Oh, it's the 7. Okay. Sure. Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So thank you everyone for your hard work, and Jack, do you want to
Yeah,
make your motion?
move the, I'll just reiterate my
Thank you.
budget fans.
That's a first.
Reiterate that's the intention of this village board to complete at the earliest possible time, the emergency crossing of the railroad at Dunnery Court, and that it's our intention to do that either with, hopefully with grant funds, but if not, that we would use our own funds to complete the project.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sam back there, big fan.
The budget.
Okay, we did culture and recreation. Village attorney Terry isn't here, but the one item we have, I believe, the agreement. I don't know, Bill. We have the chairman of the parking lot. Did you want to come up to talk about that, or? It's up to you. We have, should give you your proper due with respect to this. We have an agreement here with the County of Rockland for use of Hallett Place, and Mr. Schoenlieber will talk about this.
Okay, what it all concerns is a contract for Hallett Place for the buses for layovers. They've had agreement for about 10 years, which we weren't getting any funding whatsoever, and our contract expired. So we sat down with the transportation department, and they agreed to pay us $1,500 a month for layovers, and give us $20,000 to repair any of our lots. It's a 4-year contract. It'll end up being, I think, a little over $96,000. So I'm getting approved, trying to get approval to get that signed.
Great job, Bill. That really is,
Bill,
you held the feet to the fire.
Bill, I have a question. I have one question. The $20,000 for improvements,
Right?
if the contract is terminated, or the lease or license is terminated, because each party has the option of doing that within the 4 years or 51 months, is that like a use it or lose it?
No, I
$20,000?
believe it's for, but right now, as soon as we sign a contract, there's a lot of repairs that have to be done in the lots. So I plan on
Using it right away.
We're using it right away to get these lots repaired.
Before someone says, you know. Okay.
We should talk to Charles and Terry about, obviously, a lot of paving. If what the rules are with respect to the parking authority going out with our contract that we're going to be doing for roads. So it may make sense because obviously, you know, our project is going to be in excess of $400,000. So with the, you know, mobilization fees, a $20,000 paving project isn't significant. But we should talk to Charles about that and Terry to see if we can add that funding and then add the work that you identify that needs to be done for paving.
Okay. Well, I've already talked to Charles and to get together with him to try to work out where the village can do the work and we can pay the village $20,000 or whatever needs to be done.
Okay, we'll work on it. Thank you. Good job, though, Bill. Thank you. Is there authorization for me to enter into that agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Once again, Bill, good job with that. Thank you so much.
Just a clapping kind of night.
Okay, Police Department. Chief Osborne.
Very brief, there's some very brief announcements. Number one, I asked the mayor and board next month if we could have an award ceremony in May. Usually I believe it's the second week of May is National Police Week. So I'm asking the board if I could bring officers and residents in to award them, basically officers for exceptional duty for the past year on some of the incidents we've had there in the village, as well as some residents who have done some exceptional things for our department as well. So I asked the mayor and board if you would mind if I could do that in May.
Of course.
Thank you. Our firearms training will be starting in May. This is yearly training for our officers. We train in pistol, shotgun, and our patrol rifles. We'll be doing that for probably a 3 or 4 day period in mid-May. So I just want to let you know that'll be coming up. That's our yearly training. The Dare Rink is going great. We have lights being installed this week. Trenches are being dug, conduits are dug. So we should have the lights installed by Wednesday or Thursday for our spring season, which opens up, I believe, around April 13th to 14th in that area. So we have that going on. And last but not least, I had spoken to Trustee Falciglia. We had been discussing some overnight parking issues. Trustee Falciglia asked if we could check the B lot, which is across from the post office, municipal lot B, for overnight parking, which is prohibited there. And within a week, we issued 17 summonses at $40 a piece. So I just want to let you know the results, Trustee Falciglia. I know we were speaking about it, and we were concerned about some overnight parking, so you know the results. And that's pretty much it for tonight.
That's $680.
There you go.
Pays my salary.
I love it. He's like, it's all about, right? Okay. Let me add one thing, though, because this reminds me, we should discuss this. Someone had approached me a couple of years ago, and while we do have a prohibition against overnight parking,
yes, we
also, if somebody goes out and frequents one of our restaurants and has some drinks and doesn't want to drive, we should look to not penalize somebody for overnight parking. I mean, we want to encourage safety first. So I don't know if we want to designate some area, but I think it's more important that somebody...
Yeah, I think a designated area would be actually
yeah,
a great idea.
But it's something we should talk about, because obviously...
It's pretty much the same. The summonses were written. No, I understand totally. The summonses were written Monday through Thursday night. We did not hit the weekends, I'll be honest with you, for that reason.
You may not, but people party on the week, Clark. They party.
Right on.
The idea behind this was, you know, to get an idea of, is there additional revenue out there during the graveyard hours? And I'm really happy with the way it worked. We'd have to be selective and targeted, because I think once people got wind of it,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we found, Charles, the first couple of days was, obviously, most of them were written. After the second, third day, my midnight sergeants reported to me in the morning that it pretty much died out.
We've also, Charles, something that we talked about that is another potential source of revenue is, you know, an issue we have is people who own their own businesses. We've been cracking down because people park large commercial vehicles in their driveways, the economy's bad, and look, we don't want to hurt our residents, but neighbors will often complain because they live in a residential neighborhood and they don't want a large box truck parked next door to them. So one thing we had talked about, potential locations where we could sell permits to allow local people or businesses to park their commercial vehicles overnight. Mm-hmm. So that would be something, you know, there have been a lot that's not owned by us that's used, and so, you know, we don't want to hurt people, but we also want to make sure that commercial vehicles aren't parked in residential neighborhoods. So we can look into that for revenue.
Okay, and that's all, Mayor Board. I thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Okay, for the building department, we have a resignation letter of Mr. Joseph Giacaruso dated March 22nd, 2013. Joe served us well for a little under 2 years, and now he's sold his home in Rockland and is officially retiring to his other home. So I thank Joe. He'll be back and forth if any of you want to reach out to him. You know, he still has some moving going on. But is there a motion to accept that letter of resignation?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Audience participation. If anyone has any public comment, please feel free to come up to the microphone. Oh, be careful.
Dagan.
Be careful on the stairs.
I didn't think he was
Good evening, Mayor and the Board of Trustees. I'm Bill Pam, 176 Duxbury Lane, Suffern, New York. I have two items. Quite a few months ago, I brought this up again. It's about the Yorkshire Drive. The lines in most of our main thoroughfares were redone, except from the intersection of Parkside Drive and Craigmere Road. I don't understand why that wasn't done. It's a large road, And I think the mayor suggested I go to Chief Osborne. And he gave me a copy from Frederick P. Clark Associates, a very well-known firm. And they examined the subject was Yorkshire Drive, Suffern, New York. This was dated September 16, 2009. I'll just read a little of it. As requested by the village, we have conducted a field investigation of Yorkshire Drive from the intersection of Cragmere Road to the east to the intersection of Milford Lane to the west to determine if it would be appropriate for a double yellow center line to be installed on this roadway. It was recently paved by the village. Then they described the things on the road, the parking, and I think what is very relevant to this on the next page, the roadway functions as a collector and serving large residential areas and two large multifamily type developments. It is likely this road functions as a bypass for Route 59, which is located to the north. Motorists use Yorkshire Drive both for access for their specific neighborhood and also in traverse the southerly portion of the village, possibly to the hospital area. The observations indicate that generally motorists are driving down the middle of the road. There is a lack of directional traffic flow, especially at night. You can't see where you are on this road. The roadway is not a local neighborhood roadway. Based on these observations and the level of traffic observed during the afternoon time period, it is recommended that the village consider installing a double yellow center line for the entire length of Yorkshire Drive. And you can see on the last page they have an aerial picture. It did used to have a single line down it. So I suggest that the village made a mistake and they should draw a single or double line down Yorkshire Road. That's one item.
Thank you.
The next one that I have is this concerning the terrible tragedy that happened in Newton a few short weeks ago. The worst tragedy that could happen to a community occurred on December 14th, 2012 at the Newton Sandy Elementary School. An obviously mentally sick young man, Adam Lanza, blasted his way into the school with automatic weapons, firing perhaps 150 rounds in a matter of minutes, and massacred 25 and 6-year-old children, plus 6 teachers and their principal. He then killed himself. Previous to that, he had also killed his mother. There are simply no words to describe the horror of this event to families, friends, and the entire country. Many other killings have occurred before and after this event. As a matter of fact, there are over 32,000 deaths by firearms every year in the gun culture of our country. It is time to put a halt to this carnage. On the other sheet, it's being taken up by Congress, I think the state of New York legislature. I've distributed copies of this, and they want to hear from the grassroots. I think this is the grassroots. And I recommend that the board pass a resolution along these lines concerning guns. Background checks before acquiring a gun must be more thorough. For example, in Canada, there is a 20-day inquiry period, plus 2 citizens must sign forms attesting to the character of the potential gun owner. This should also cover purchase of guns at gun shows. This is a big loophole of guns being purchased and sold at gun shows. Ban the importation of assault weapons containing gun clips of 30 to 50 bullets. No citizen needs this deadly weapon, which should only be used by police forces and the military. All of this does not impinge on our Second Amendment rights or legitimate uses of rifles by hunter. Another item is in the schools to increase the mental health facilities in schools for young men exhibiting very bad antisocial behavior. I think it's really time for our country to address this issue. It is being addressed, and I heard some things, it's waning, certain portions, they may only get adjournment, but I think these, especially these assault rifles, really do not belong in the hands of citizens. Thank you.
Bill, thank you. I personally, I don't know if the village wants that. I mean, I personally have expressed in other arenas similar positions as yours, that I believe that there's no, the AR-15, which is the weapon of choice in these mass murderers, there's no need for law-abiding citizens to have them. High capacity magazine clips, mandatory waiting periods. I do agree with everything you said. I mean, obviously, if this board at some point wants to do something, I'm supportive of that, but I've kind of left each individual to address that. But as you know, yeah, it's definitely a state issue now, and I believe that Congress is not passing the reinstating the Clinton-era assault weapons ban. But yes, it's now become a local issue, and especially in this county with the gun map, it's kind of a very hot-button issue in Rockland and the state as well. So thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, does anybody else? Mr. Schutte. Okay.
Good evening, Roy Schutte, 16 Lonigan Drive. I'd like to wish the board and everyone here a belated happy Passover and Easter. And I want to thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to come up and speak. The question one or two I might have is regarding the Squires Gate Playground. It is now the spring, and it has been discussed previously that in the spring that the new park would go in. So I would like to inquire if we have a date on that.
The Temple Park? You're talking about the Temple Park?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are still waiting to hear from the people who own the property. Their attorneys were pretty badly shaken by Sandy, and Terry and I have been reaching out to them. I did not check in with Terry this week on that. We need to buy the property before we can put a park there on Temple.
I know, but this has been ongoing now for quite a while.
Well, it was planned for this spring. I mean, that's the plan. So we weren't able to do it last year, so it's always been planned for this season.
Okay, so it's safe to say that it'll be going in during the spring.
As long as we get the land. Getting the playground is not.
We're hoping so. We're hoping that the attorney is able to get back to his daily functions after Sandy.
Okay.
So.
Appreciate that. Regarding Donna Hallett Park, we were hoping to see some seating done on the area because it kind of looks like a battlefield, to be honest with you. And with that, I believe benches were to be installed also.
Yeah, we had talked about that. I know whatever work we do there is going to be part of, now we're shifting out of the winter into the spring. Last year we were mainly focused, there was a lot of water there, getting rid of the water.
Yeah.
But obviously, yeah. And we are also looking at acquiring, as part of an agreement with the landowner, to get the property also on Temple, right across from like Richie Iskowitz's house.
Right.
From the car wash.
Yes.
So they're going to move forward on site plan, and they've agreed to donate that property to the village. So that will be passive, and there'll be benches there, and presumably the fence would be moved back to really where that tree line is on his property. So that'll be a good thing also.
Yeah, yes, it would.
So we're working on that as well.
In addition to that, you're aware where the basketball court is down at Donna Hallett Park? Well, many of the youngins that are playing ball down there lose their ball into the water. There is no barrier of any sort. And what happens is, like if I was a kid, or when I was a kid, I would have done the same thing as a lot of them do. They go heading into the river to retrieve their basketball. And just as a safety issue, I'd feel terrible, like I'm sure everybody else. God forbid an accident happens with a child getting hurt. That's, inexcusable. So I asked Charles today if they could look into it, if they could put some kind of a small barrier fencing up that would preclude a child from going into the water, which could incur an injury.
We actually talked about that, Roy, because I had the same concern that you did about the kids are playing right next to this river and the water. The problem is when we looked into different ways to possibly put something up there, there's a river running. So unless it was something that was put in as a permanent fixture, there was really no way to keep any kind of fencing or barrier up there because of the obvious reasons of the river coming up and back. That being said, I still think that some kind of deterrent should be put there. What it is, Charles is still kind of trying to come up with something.
Well, in addition to that, if that's not possible, due to a very valid point, if they could just take the baskets off and maybe put it on the other way to the bigger side of the field, and so that it would be going east and west instead of north and south.
So this way, drawn to the river.
Yeah,
right.
So
I agree with you.
So this way, that would preclude any injury to it. And the last thing on that, if it's possible. It's embarrassing to say, but there's a lot of people in the village who do not pick up after their animals. And that is also a health issue. I don't know if there's ever summonses issued on that or not, but I don't like to see people. But it's terrible to look at, and it's a health issue.
Yeah, we do. It's just you got to catch them in the
I was hoping. Do you think along the park they could put doggy bag things?
Yeah, we can do that. Charles, you got that? Yeah, we do those in the signs, like please curb your dog. We put those.
Okay, and lastly, I'd like to thank both Clark.
After the people.
I'd like to. Yeah, I agree.
I really do.
It's disgusting.
Our neighborhood. There's a dog in our neighborhood that has been very busy. And I literally am now chasing people down with extra plastic bags.
I agree. I carry numerous bags, and but I think they come out late at night, like vampires or whatever, to walk their dog.
I'm pretty sure that we talked about doing that at every park.
It's
sure that there was something at every park.
Yeah, it's just on a health issue. And lastly, I'd just like to thank both Clark and Charles for coming down today to the park to help us, our committee that has been formed, the Concerned Citizens of Suffern. We're looking to upgrade the neighborhood and issues that are pertaining to that, and with the cleanup that'll be coming. So I just want to thank you fellows also on that, and thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Just a brief comment, a little historical perspective. We had a curb your dog sign on Hallett Park, and everybody did. And so it created a problem, everyone curbing their dog in the same place, I guess, but then the neighbors asked to have it removed. But I think that, we do have, the ordinance that we have makes a presumption that if you don't have the equipment with you to take care of your dog, that you're in violation. So, police don't like to hang around and get these people, but a few arrests, a few.
The pooper scooper
it's not like
violators.
really fighting crime.
What do you can get the person? That dog looks ready to go. Look at him.
Oh, don't think I don't stalk out my windows and wait for that dog to start
Somehow
going.
I
And I see
believe
no
it.
plastic bag, and I'm like a bat out of you know what getting down those stairs to get to that person.
Okay, moving right along.
You have someone else.
Yes.
Rich Carp, 88 Lonigan. Again, I'm going to ask you, when are those houses scheduled on coming down? It's been a long time now, and that might change the neighborhood.
Well, we're going through the process. As you know, we secured the funding, and the last step was, we're moving right along. So what do we see this summer, spring?
Has any preparations been made as of yet to put out bids for contractors to take them down?
We're starting on that, right, Charles?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're waiting for
We're
the
getting,
asbestos survey to come back.
That was the last thing, the
There's,
asbestos survey, yeah.
there's the whole process.
We're moving, everyone here, I have to say, they really are moving through the process as quickly as
I'm
possible.
just asking because I don't
Yeah.
know, so, you know.
It's, I mean, I know it seems like a long time, but compared
It is
to,
a long time.
compared to many other municipalities who've, this, you know, we've been very fortunate that it's moving along quickly, that we secured the funding, and obviously, it's in everybody's interest to.
Any
remove these
ideas
zones.
when, any time schedule? I mean, this.
What do we
spring-
think, by the spring or summer, you said?
Hopefully by the summer.
Summer more.
Yeah.
Summer,
It is
yeah.
spring.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's just, until we get the bids back and until we get everything done, we're still waiting for Albany on a few things. Everything is secured, it's going to happen. It's just that they're not really giving us a timeline. Although I will tell you, it will happen by June 2014, because we have no choice.
Okay, thank you.
That's our job.
Thank you. Adam, I thought you went back to school.
No, I got school starts tomorrow. I only got one class at 10 o'clock, so nice 2.5-hour drive I'm having in the morning. My name's Adam DiStefano. I live at 19 Prairie Avenue. I have a couple questions. The first is from the 2012 budget that you and Jack were talking about earlier. I didn't want to bring it up during that time because it wasn't related to the budget. We lost $300,000, as you know, because we didn't sell the property for revenue, and we also lost $200,000 in the building permit. Where did we make that revenue up from?
We had the revenue, I have to look at the numbers, we had the revenue from the settlement with Mawa, which is $300,000.
But that was for the next year. It didn't go into the budget that year.
Yeah, it did. The budget we're in, the 2012 budget.
No, I'm talking about the budget before that, the one where we had the $475,000 for the building permit. The budget that we're currently in, we only have $180,000.
I have to, the $300,000 is in, I have to look at.
No, it was the $313 for the sales of the property.
I don't have, I'm not gonna comment on something I don't have in front of me.
Well, no, because I remember we talked about this the one time, and I think.
Talk about this, and I don't have the budget in front of me.
No, I'm saying me and you, I remember talking about this during the one budget meeting on it, and the thing that you brought up, it wasn't that we added our revenue, it's we actually lowered our expense, and that's why we were able to come in the black during that budget.
Adam, I'm not going to comment on something that I don't have the numbers, and we can talk about this. I do know, again, that when the books closed, we were in the black.
No, we were in the black.
I have to look at the numbers. I don't have the revenue lines in front of me. I'm not going to,
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for that at all.
Okay.
The other thing I want to talk about is with the rock quarry, with the possible project that might be going on there. This is something that I'm against because this is the second time in the village in the last couple of years we've had a builder use a piece of land as a hostage in a situation where the first one was on Washington Avenue with Don Brennan, where he never cleaned up the property. I understand he wanted to keep the superstructure there in case he wanted to rebuild, and I agreed with that. But the rubble on the property, there was no reason for that to be maintained there. And his thing was, when he came here for the meeting, was he said as soon as he got approval for the zone change, he would clean that up. Now we're having the similar thing going on with Goldstein saying, well, as soon as you approve my project here, I'll be able to build a pumping station for the Squires Gate area to help reduce flooding. And I would ask the board to look for an alternative way to get that pumping station. That way we don't have someone, because he took it off the tax roll for, what was it, Jack, 5 or 6 years they take it off for. And that's not something, that's not a good sign of good neighborhood or anything in a sense with that.
You should be careful here also, because the facts, he didn't take it off the tax rolls. The land was donated by Tilcon to the town of Ramapo.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the developer. It has to do with the fact that it was donated to a municipality who then, by the nature of the fact that it was owned by a government, it was off the tax.
Which we are not allowed to tax, yes. And Goldstein has been waiting to buy that property as soon as we get as soon as we have a zone change.
No,
so in other words,
that's Adam. Yeah, again, I'll talk about this, but the facts that's not accurate. That's not accurate. They're not waiting. It's not an approval. They have a separate agreement with the town of Ramapo. In terms of what happens, ultimately, they have to go through a process before our planning board. But there's no contingency that I'm aware of. I do know that there was a meeting that we had here in Suffern at the community center, and it was relayed that the developer would be willing, if they were made whole by their investment. I believe they've invested close to $1 million in the property. So it would be $1 million, let's say, plus I think the flood mitigation system that Brian Brooker designed for them was estimated at $2.1 million. So I think that yes, if you had the funding of $3 million, could it be done where that property, the developer would walk away, they'd be made whole, and would there be another way to get the funding to do that project? Yes. But I don't know who has $3 million.
Where would we have to give them $3 million for investing in a property that they don't own?
Excuse me? It's not giving them, it's $2 million.
Yes, $2 million for the pumping station. You're saying $3 million because we'd have to give them $1 million.
No, the whole project would be about $2.5 billion. You could either do it privately, or for whatever reason, Chris St. Lawrence and the Goldsteins, I don't know if you remember the North Carolina Four Corners stall offense. They've stalled off on this, and you know, now they've pinned their hopes. They've pinned their hopes on a zoning vote change by this board. Now, I've called Phil Tisi last week, and I asked him to set up a meeting with me and Chris St. Lawrence, one-on-one. Mr. Tisi could sit in as a witness, and I have a couple of proposals I would like to run by him. I'm losing my patience, to be honest with you, about this whole thing.
I agree with you on that 100%. But I would ask that we look into an alternative way as to having us be forced to do a zone change in order to get a pumping station, see if we can get some type of grant, because as you said, they are doing flood mitigation grants now more and more, especially after Irene and Sandy. See if we can get one of those and work with the town of Ramapo.
There's no money on the federal level.
I believe, though, that at that meeting, the county legislators were there that said that they would go back to the county to try to get the $3 million. So you should probably follow up with them. We currently don't own the property, but obviously...
Yeah, no, it's town of Ramapo owns the property.
Ramapo did put that in as a flood mitigation project.
They put the quarry in as a flood mitigation? All right, thank you very much
well,
for that
yeah, but they did it 6 years too late. Okay?
Yeah.
No, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
There's what, if I might have the floor just for a second. The flood mitigation was never 2.1, it was 1.2. You got the numbers right, but in the wrong direction. Brian's project was 1.2.
1.2, and then what, $1 million, so it would be $2 million, okay.
No, we sat with Brian Brooker at that meeting, March 2nd, and he specifically said $2.5 million.
He said $2.5 million.
Maybe I could clear this up?
You were at that meeting, yes.
Well, I had to leave early, but yeah.
First of all, we're under no obligation, neither is the town. The contract was signed stating regardless of whether Goldstein builds or not, the town gets the plans at no charge. So check it out, because I have checked it out. Phil Tisi has checked it out. We are under no obligation to reimburse Goldstein for anything, and neither is the town of Ramapo.
Nobody's under an obligation, but maybe it's a way of getting them to go away.
Wait a minute, the mayor's shaking his head.
No, I didn't. No one said we were under an obligation to reimburse them.
Well, you spoke at that meeting about something about reimbursing the Goldsteins.
No, what happened was they had said if someone wanted to come in and buy them out of their contract, they would be open to that suggestion. I was not saying that we are going to do that or doing that. I was relaying it that they would be willing to walk away if they were made whole.
Well, they don't need to be bought out. There's a simple way to get rid of them. Let them apply for the zone change, deny it, and they go away. And life goes on in the village of Suffern. What is their problem? They haven't been at the planning board, I'm going to say 8 months now. Do they want to do this project, or they just want to hold us up from doing what we have to do to get something on flooding?
They are an applicant. They're moving forward every speed. We don't, look, as you know, you were mayor, how, you know, we only control the process on our end. We don't control the process on their end.
Well, I think a meeting should be done with the town of Ramapo, with the Goldsteins, and find out if this is a serious project, or I don't know what they could possibly be waiting for.
Okay.
Either they're interested or they're not interested, because as you know, we got a commitment from 5 legislators that they're willing to take that property.
They may be waiting for the next election.
Well, forget about money. They're not going to put all that money up. They're not all going to put that money up. We're going to have to contribute as a village, the town's going to have to contribute, and the county's going to have to, just like they're talking about $10 million in Spring Valley for flood control. So let's get the property and we'll worry about getting the money.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any public comment? Okay, I don't have to, we'll just move right along.
Department of Public Works.
Sorry?
Department of Public Works.
Department of Public Works, Charles.
Officially.
Good evening, Mayor and the board.
Sorry, Charles. Yes.
I am requesting authorization to attend the Green Infrastructure Design of Redevelopment Retrofit Project course. This course is offered by Cornell Cooperative Extension in Middletown, New York on April 11th, 2013. The total cost of the course is $225.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, sorry, Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion is carried.
Requesting authorization to award a contract for the general construction portion of the wastewater treatment plant.
Back to, sorry, couldn't hear. Thank you.
Sludge dewatering project. The low bidder with a complete and comprehensive proposal conforming to the project bid documents is Northeast Remsco Construction, Inc., Farmingdale, New Jersey. The bid is in the amount of $833,100. This bid includes a $10,000 salvage credit for the existing centrifuge and spare bowl. The cost of the project will be charged to the wastewater treatment capital projects account.
So moved.
Second.
We should put a warning bid, right? Roll call. Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Requesting authorization to award a contract for the electrical construction portion of the wastewater treatment plant sludge dewatering project. The low bidder with a complete and comprehensive proposal conforming to the project bid documents is Fanshawe, Inc., Nanuet, New York. The bid is the amount of $93,000. The cost for this project will be charged to the wastewater treatment plant capital projects account.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion is carried.
The Mawa River Cleanup Environmental Benefits Project number 3 is scheduled for Saturday, April 13th, 2013, starting at 9 a.m. The Department of Public Works, the Police Department, and the Fire Department will partner with the concerned citizens of Suffern to complete this project. T-shirts will be distributed to all participants.
I will move that because the artwork for those T-shirts
Yeah.
is just so lovely.
I assume that if I wanted to, I could participate.
Absolutely.
He just wants the
You don't have to ask
T-shirt.
for
He wants a
permission,
T-shirt.
Wants
really
the
bad.
T-shirt.
I think everyone has to pass a physical.
Okay.
I moved it.
Well, do we need to move?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Charles, and thank you for your hard work during the budget as well. I know a lot of work went into that. And we look forward to a good road project this year. I think people are going to be very excited.
Sure got a lot of pop.
Where is, yeah, we're going to be working on Pavilion Road. It's for you, McInerney.
He even took his glasses off to make sure he heard you right.
Said you can't leave until Pavilion is done. Okay, Village Clerk.
I only have one item, Mayor, and this is from the Suffern Little League. They're requesting permission to have a parade on Saturday, April the 6th at 9:30 a.m.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay.
Okay. Finance Department, as I said, Tom isn't here. We have approval of an agreement with Morewood Oaks Contracts to review, I guess, our gross receipts, their utility bills and the cable bills. We talked about this where there's no fee for this. They get a percentage of whatever money they save us. They've done this work with other municipalities and they've all enjoyed saving. So it's a good opportunity for us.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I guess we're not...
All in favor?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a roll call, right?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I vote yes, motion is carried. Okay, and then approval to set up a capital project, 213-09, in the amount of $1.45 million. This is a 100% reimbursable project through FEMA. I commend again Deputy Mayor Corrigan, DPW Public Works Superintendent Charles Sawicki, and the lady behind the camera, Elaine Acasella, for all their hard work. Not only did we find out that the homeowners are going to be bought out, but also that we're going to be reimbursed 100% for all our expenses. The village has already spent money on the project through engineering costs, shoring up the homes in the last year and a half. We're going to be reimbursed for that. So what this does is it will move all that funding out of whatever we've spent and set up a capital project. This will benefit ultimately, and this isn't reflected in the budget, it will help our fund balance at the end of this year because the money that we've spent already and actually at the end of the previous year will come back to us. So again, while this was money that we didn't expect to be reimbursed, I believe that, you know, we had spent, I believed on Brooker Engineering alone, I think that in essence, we'd spent over $30,000 so far that the village expected to be out of pocket. We've now been told that we're going to be reimbursed for that. That's money that will come back in. It'll positively affect the fund balance, but in terms of trying to be conservative in the budgeting, there's no impact in the budget. So it's not reflected there, but the additional revenue will help the books when it comes back in. So that's a good thing. Okay.
Motion.
Oh yeah, there needs to be.
So
set up a budget line item?
Second.
He wants to.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there anything from the trustees? No? Quiet from the trustees. Okay, I have two items, one that is on the agenda and one that isn't. We had talked about it at the workshop, but it wasn't placed on the agenda. The first item is Joe Giacaruso, our building inspector, resigned. We have a building inspector part-time right now, and we're looking to hire another one. We had advertised that position $35 an hour. I have a letter here from the president of CSEA Unit 8369. It says, the union stance, all jobs by title are paid at the same rate of pay. If the village establishes a higher rate for positional employees already in that position must be elevated to the same rate of pay. We had discussed this for our current part-time building inspector, Joe Tishner, who had only been working a small number of hours, more like an apprenticeship kind of position, but now, especially since we are looking to hire a second building inspector, he's the sole building inspector right now, will be working the 19 hours. So this would move his salary to $35 an hour, and it would go back to February 15th, which is when he started. We felt that that was an appropriate date because he has been working as the lead building inspector since Joe Giacaruso announced that he was leaving. Again, going forward, this is in the budget, so both positions are budgeted, and as I said in the last meeting, we actually increased the line item for the building inspectors to reflect the fact that with the amount of work we're going to have, we're going to need them working more hours. So, you know, if we're going to get more revenue, we're also going to recognize that we have to pay the people for doing, they're going to be doing more work, so there'll be more time and more hours billed from that department. So
moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Ms. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, and the other item I have, as I had mentioned and as we had talked about earlier, Gail Curtin, after 31 and a half years, will be retiring April 26th. As I've said since she first told me this, there will be no replacement because Gail cannot be replaced. However, recreation must move on and there will be a successor. The village requested a list from civil service for the position. And one of the people on the list, the person with the highest score, is a village resident, Kathy Mills, also a member of the Recreation Department. And I'm asking the... Recreation Committee. Thank you, Jack. I'm asking the village board to appoint Kathy A. Mills as Recreation Activities Coordinator at a salary of $55,000. And her start date, what did we say, around May 1? Gail, was that what we were looking around? Yes. May 1. So is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Who motioned?
Oh, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment, or to confirm.
To confirm.
Yeah, there's a motion to confirm. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Falciglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Abato?
Yes.
Mrs. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion is carried. Kathy, welcome aboard. You have some big shoes to fill, but I'm sure you'll be up to the task. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah,
A motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.